Hey, and a very warm welcome to the Into the LightWeb podcast with me, your hostess, Joanna Hunter, metaphysical teacher, spiritual life and business coach, published author, and the high priestess of the LightWeb, a spiritual technology that will change your life. This is the place to be to talk everything under the LightWeb, from consciousness, relationships, to money, to spiritual business, and everything in between. Hi, it's Joanna Hunter here for the Into the LightWeb podcast, and I have got another $1 Million Lab series. And today I am joined by Antonio Martinez. Come and say hi to everybody and tell people what it is that you do in the world, Antonio.
Hi, Joanna. Thank you for having me. Well, I'm a course creator in the Spanish market, and I am actually starting to create content in English for the first time in my life. I got to the 7-figure status in the Spanish market within 3 short years after trying a lot of things, trying to get out of bankruptcy because that was literally where I was. And after creating and launching my very first online course, I was rapidly able to get out of that situation. And I found out that selling courses was a very nice side business that rapidly became my first or my only source of income. And I don't know if we have the time to get into details, but it was 3 years of a very great success as a course creator. But then I made a huge mistake that completely destroyed my business along with my reputation in the Spanish market. And I got into I went from millionaire back to broke again almost overnight. And I went into a deep depression after that. And then I found out after about 1 year of being depressed, I stumbled upon Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi seminar where a phrase brought me back to life. They said, "Turn your mess into a message," and that's what gave me a new purpose. And then I was overcoming a limiting belief that I had. It was I always wanted to create content in English, and but I had a limiting belief. I thought that my English is not good enough to teach to English speakers. And after overcoming this limiting belief, I knew that I had something valuable to teach, which is how to teach people how to do what I did, which is, create an online course packet and sell it for a living. And that's what I'm doing right now.
So I think this is a really common belief because I have a lot of people in my communities from all over the world. Many people come from non-speaking English countries, and, trying to teach in English when it's not your first language, it comes with its challenges. And I think this is a limiting belief that many people have, like they think maybe their English isn't good enough or and things like that. And English is not my first language. It's actually my second language. So it's a lot of people are really shocked when they hear that because they're like, but you sound like you have a Scottish accent. And I'm like, yeah, but I moved here when I moved here not actually being able to speak the language when I first came here. So I understand what it's like to work in a language that's not your native tongue. And I think a lot of people have this belief. And the funny thing is that everything that we think about that, like people are not going to understand our accent or their, how can we do this if we're not really native English speakers and things. But what I have found is, especially in the American market, they love an accent. They love an accent. So It's like everything that I was nervous about, everything that I was worried about was actually turned out to be a positive. So I don't need to ask you, Antonio, if you believe in mindset work, because it's very, very clear that you do. It's a big thing.
Yes.
So are you open to talking about the mistakes that you made when, you'd created the 7 figures and then all of a sudden everything like ground to a halt and threw you into this depression? I don't want to take you fully back there, but can you talk us through a little bit about how we got to that place?
Yes, of course. I learned that owning my mistakes is the best way to overcome this dark situation, this horrible situation, because I don't know really where to start, but I used to be, I think, and I tell myself that I was kind of normal when it becomes to lying. I mean, everybody lies, little lies, white lies, whatever you call it, but everybody lies in some point of their life. And I think I was pretty normal when it comes to lying. I wasn't a pathological liar. But when creating my first online course, it was about Forex trading. I thought that if I created a YouTube channel to talk about Forex trading, and I thought that if I told my audience that I wasn't a successful trader myself, they wouldn't listen. So okay, fake it until you make it. And I started talking about Forex trading as if I was a successful trader myself. And I didn't say it out loud, but it was kind of, what people could assume by listening to me. And that's how I grew my channel, and that's how I sold courses. I started selling courses. And one day I felt really bad about it. I started feeling, this heavy lie was
the guilt.
Yes, the guilt. And I talked about it with my psychologist, and she said that maybe I should come clean, and say I actually was, because I was really able to get some income out of Forex trading. It wasn't my main source of income, but I was able to make an income out of it. And then when my courses were providing me an income highly superior from what I was doing from trading, I stopped trading altogether, and I started living just out of selling courses. And that's what I did. And my psychologist said, well, you can say that. You can say you were able to make an income out of it, but now you are fully committed to teaching, and you stopped trading. You can say that. But that really scared me. I thought that if I came clean, I was going to lose all my credibility. And I didn't do that. What I did was the complete opposite. Hindsight is always 2020. You can say that it was a huge mistake. But what I decided to do was to prove myself that I could still trade for a living. And I decided to do it publicly. I had years that I haven't touched a trading platform. I had, I was, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I lost practice. I wasn't.
Okay, yeah, you were out of practice.
Yeah, and I did it publicly. Of course, I knew that I was going to fail.
Do you think that in amongst all that, there was some sabotage? It was like trying to sabotage yourself, like deep down. Does that feel like, because as I'm listening to you, I'm like, like your psychologist gave really good advice, but you're like, no, I'm just going to do this public thing where I'm completely out of practice of trading, but I'm just going to show everyone. And it's kind of almost like you're setting yourself up to kind of hit that wall in a way.
Yeah, so, looking back, I think the same. I think I was auto-sabotaging I was maybe unconsciously, I was trying to destroy the whole thing because that was a burden, you know, and living this life, pretending to be someone I was not. And even
I
though it
love that
was,
you brought this to my podcast because I am not a super fan of the advice fake it till you make it, but there's so much of that advice around, right? There's so much of that advice around. And I wrote a book called Get Selfish, The Way is Through. And in the Get Selfish journey that the book talks about, taking yourself through or leading yourself through this Get Selfish journey, it is about creating a great personal relationship with ourselves. And it is extremely hard to create a great personal relationship with ourselves when we're out of alignment and out of integrity with ourselves, when we're in that fake it till we make it thing, right? And it's really, and I've been there because that was my earlier businesses. And for me, I also hit depression, but for me, it was, I hit a huge, I hit a huge burnout at the burden of running these organizations. And even though they were really successful, they made multiple, six figures and six figures. I had 4 businesses. They were all 6-figure businesses and multiple 6-figure businesses. But, when people ask me, how's it going? And I was stressed to the max and I was so tired and really burnt out, I'd be like, yes, fabulous. It's going so great. Which, in effect is a lie. And it was destroying my relationship with myself. And I think it's such an important thing. And one of the things that I love right now that's happening in the world is this massive mental health movement, this huge movement of mental health where people are saying, it is okay not to be okay.
yeah.
And during the time that I was going through what I was going through, there was no such movement. So it was like, I kind of really felt this pressure that people expected me to be doing really well, mentally, as well as, physically and financially. And even though there was plenty of money coming in, my issue was that I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. I was so tired and burnt out. And eventually I hit a huge burnout. And it is a burden. It is a burden to live that kind of, in a way, it makes you feel like you're living a double life. You're feeling on one side, I had the financial success, you had the financial success, but at what price, at what cost? It didn't make me happy in that stage in my life. And so when I began building this business that I'm in now, one of the things that I really vowed to myself is that every part of this journey I would own. Every part of this journey I would share with total honesty. So, recently my business crossed $700,000 for our business year. And I said to my audience, I said, I'm really happy. Part of me is really happy, but the other part of me is like, I just want to go and hide. I don't want to tell anyone. And I want to hide because that's how I feel. And I'm owning it and I'm sharing it with you because it's so easy when you see the entrepreneurs that do really, really well in life, and you think, wow, they've got it made and they're happy and they're this and they're that. And I'm really committed to sharing the real face of entrepreneurship. And it's actually one of the things that my audience thanks me for again and again, is the fact that I'm willing to be real and share, even, like I have huge wins against the backdrop of all I wanted to do was crawl into my bed, pull the duvet over my head and pretend that life wasn't happening for a little bit while I calibrated to this new level. So is that something that has come from your journey as well, that I need to be more honest, I need to be more upfront?
Yes, that's right. And although this experience brought me to a very dark place, and it made me lose my successful business along with my reputations, because YouTube flooded with videos accusing me and insulting me. I still get some people messaging me about what I'm fraud I am, what a scam I am, and whatever. I still get messages from those people, even though it's been 2 years since that happened. But that experience led me to reconcile myself with the concept, with what I think about myself and how I feel about myself. That led me to feel like I am a better person now, because now I know that everything that comes out of my mouth, it's the truth. And that feeling is so liberating, to have nothing to
Amen.
hide. You have nothing to hide, and that's a burden that I didn't even have. I didn't even know I had, because you get used to live with lying and trying to protect those lies with more lies. It's a spiral, a deadly
It
spiral.
is an absolutely downward spiral. I mean, and my, in the grand scheme of things, there was no one that was hurt. It was just, people were like, how are you doing? I'm like, wonderful. It's so great. And inside, I felt like I was dying on the inside. I absolutely felt like I was dying on the inside. And my fear was that if people knew that I wasn't happy, and I didn't, portray a successful entrepreneur at that point in time, when I had my shops and my cafe and all the businesses that I had at the time. I think that I was really afraid that they just wouldn't come into my stores, or they wouldn't come, into my restaurant, or they wouldn't come to my events that I hosted and things. Because, and I think this is, and it's such a thing. And I feel, in a way, I love to have this conversation, because I've never really had this conversation. I mean, I share what's going on in my life totally honestly in my business now with my audience, but I've never had this conversation with another entrepreneur that's felt that pressure, that you had to be perfect, that people wouldn't buy otherwise, or things like that. And I think there's so many people that are so pressured, and then advice like fake it till you make it is out there so much. And I remember once following this entrepreneur for quite some time, and I really admired her. And then I got this email from her where she basically admitted that for 3 years her assistant was fake. And I just remember reading it and feeling absolutely like, wow, okay. And I remember feeling like I don't know where I stand with you now. I literally don't know where I stand with that woman now, because like, if she would make up an entire person, like, where am I? And I think for me, I had such an adverse reaction to it, because it took me right back to that place where people would ask me how I was, and I'd be like, wonderful. Meanwhile, I was stressed over everything. And I think, there's a lot to be said for living your life in an honest way, and, being honest, not just about the money that you're making, being honest, but also being honest about your feelings as well. Like, it's okay not to have, you don't have to have 100% good days all the time. You can have a day where you feel down. You can have a day where you don't feel like getting out of bed. That's actually more normal than 100% of your days are a-okay and you're wonderful all the time.
Yes, that's right. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that part of your life with me. I feel, honored that you're sharing it for the first time with me. But we can relate due to the nature of our experiences. because that's exactly how I felt, and that's the main reason why first of all I did what I did, why my business broke, and why I became a better person because of that experience. And now I feel joy, and I can feel really happy, even though I haven't reached the level of success I had before. I am so much happy than I was back then. Feeling this honesty and this transparency, this kind of um, uh, living the truth in my life is so liberating. The feeling of freedom that I have now, knowing that I don't need to remember what I say to protect it and prevent people from finding out something, whatever. It's wonderful. Yeah, it's the best way to live. And I don't know how I could have lived 38 years of my life lying, and even if it's innocent and not harmless, I don't
Not
know,
harming anyone.
not harming anyone. That's right. It's still a burden. It's still something
Absolutely.
that
Completely.
yeah.
Completely. And it adds such a layer of pressure to anyone. And it is, and sometimes I feel in life, sometimes like for me, sometimes, I had my big burnout. I realized that I had been living my life wrong. For you, your business imploded. That brought you to the depression, which brought you to, I've been living my life wrong. And then we begin to rebuild, but we rebuild with a much stronger energy. And, the core of my business is built around integrity and honesty, because I just don't ever want to be in that place where I feel like I'm leading a double life. I've got my public life and then I've got what's going on actually in reality. I just wanted the two to be the same, and not to have to worry about somebody finding out that I wasn't happy. So now, when I'm happy and I share it, and if I'm not happy, then I share that too, and it's all
Yeah.
okay. But one of the things that has really, and maybe you can concur with this, or maybe you have a different experience, but one of the things that I feel is really kind of important is that like energy attracts like energy. So what I find now is the people who are in my world now, the students that I have, the clients that I have, who are all in they are really an energetic match for me. And whereas before, not everybody that was in my world when I had my, obviously it's not such a big deal if somebody's an energetic match to eat your macaroni in your restaurant, but the thing is that I feel the people that I have around me, the people that come into my world, like they're such a powerful energetic match for me as I am now. Whereas, earlier I had a lot of people who were very, very concerned about their image, very concerned about how they looked and things like that. So I was kind of really surrounded by a reflection of myself. And so I was often found myself surrounded by liars,
Yeah.
people that didn't tell the whole truth. And now I feel like I've got, the women in my communities are some of the most incredible humans I've ever met. They inspire me every single day. And I think, they are now a reflection of my vibration as well. And I don't know if you find the same thing has happened as you rebuilt a new community going from your old one.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that I used to do at first was trying to hide this part of my life because I was ashamed of it, and it was very sad to remember. It was uncomfortable for me to remember and talk about it. But I found out that owning it and talking, openly and freely about what happened, it really helped me overcome it, and feel better about it, and also harness the good things about it. And this experience of or this I mean this process of talking about it openly has led me to to connect with people that can relate, and people who is exactly in the same spot that I am now, or who are trying to get there, and that people can you know, I can feel this kind of relationship with them, and this empathy that is mutual, and absolutely I have, of course, this is the people that I connect with through my social media and my website. But the people around me, I mean, the people who knew me actually in person are not so much, because are not so many, because this happened 2 years ago and it was almost pre-pandemic, and now I've been in quarantine, you know, for almost 2 years, and I haven't been able to connect with many people. And the people that I had before in my life, I'm sorry, they have been, you know, we've lost contact because of the physical, you know, limitations, but also we've been losing contact even through the phone, or through social media or whatever, because I concur with you. These people were kind of similar to what I was before, and now that we are different and we behave different, we have a different language, because, you know, the words that you use actually change a lot. And now that we speak differently and we behave differently, we're not that
we're not an energetic match anymore.
yes,
You know, our
yes, it's
energy
kind of,
has changed, and the match is not there anymore. And it's actually very natural. Like, a lot of people who come into my world and they start to elevate their consciousness, and they start to lift their vibration, and they start to align with their soul, and they start to align with their purpose, and they align with all of these things. As they move into deeper and deeper alignment with themselves, first and foremost, and then with their work and their soul, what happens is that we have this thing that we call fall off. And when my clients go through fall off, it's literally a lot of people start falling off their life, like falling out of their lives, not falling out in a horrible way. It's just people, they just start to grow apart because their vibration has changed so much in such a short time, and that they're no longer an energetic match. And you know, one of the things that quite often comes through some of my programs is conversations that they used to be okay being part of. It's like, it's boring to them now. They've grown, their consciousness has grown. It's not conversations that they really want to have anymore, and things. And you know, and that's, I think, a normal part of spiritual growth. A lot of people don't expect that piece of spiritual growth. They just expect that you get more spiritual and life gets better. But there is that other side to it, where you actually start to realize that you don't have so much in common with people that you had a lot in common with before.
yes, yes, that's right. It's
And that can be hard to navigate. It can be hard to navigate because you can feel, it can bring up a lot of stuff, you know, like it can bring up all the things about feeling good enough and all that kind of stuff. But actually, often it's just the realization that you have grown so much and they maybe haven't.
yes, yes, that's right. And that's one of the things that used to bother me before at first, because I was thinking, what happened? Where are my friends? You know, why are they so unrelated to me? Are they may I thought that maybe it was because they were also disappointed because of what happened to me, because of course they knew what happened. And I thought, well, they think I'm a liar, and they think I'm a fraud, and that's why they are you know, staying away from me. But that's not really what was happening. What was happening is that we were different. Now we were similar. They are still being living this life around lies, and I'm not, and that's why we're different. And that's why we've been pulling away, in both sides, and even unconsciously, I feel better around other people, my kind of new people who connect with this way of living, which is, so different than what my old friends are living their lives.
I think, yeah, it is. And it's a big thing. I don't think people realize that as you're elevating consciousness and change and come out
Mm.
of, because in a way that the fake it till you make it culture, if you like, for a better word, the fake it till you make it culture, it's so ingrained and it's so socially acceptable. It's like, of course, that's what you do, but at what cost? Like if you wake up in the middle of the night thinking, I don't really like myself, I don't really like who I am, is that price worth faking it till you make it? Or are we better off just being honest? And there is that pressure, isn't it, that that you talked about. Well, if people knew that I wasn't like a super duper trader, then maybe people wouldn't buy from me. And I think that whatever level we're at, we always have something amazing to teach another human.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
every single human in the world, I think, has something amazing to teach another human that they can do really well, if only they own the level that they're at and stop trying to pretend that they're at a different level. Like I think, like, whatever level you're at, just accept that you have something amazing to teach someone. As you teach them, your mastery grows and
Of
you can
course.
start to up level. But so many of us, like, I feel like so many people as adults, we hate being a beginner.
Mm.
We're like, and you see that with men, it's quite a macho thing, right? Like there's options like beginner, intermediary, and like expert. They're like, well, we'll just wing it at intermediary, even though they've never tried the thing in their lives. But like they're just gonna put that there. Like, sure, I've been scuba diving before, like never had a tank on their back ever.
Yeah.
But it's that fear. I think human beings have that real fear of admitting, I've never done this before. This is my,
Yeah.
this is something new for me. Like, it's like we don't like to be a beginner when we become adults. It's like
Same.
we need to know that we have it all figured out, and yet we don't.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And that's one of the things that I tell my students when some people come to me, with some level of skill or knowledge that they want to turn into a product to sell, but some other people come to me with no idea what they can teach, and they come to me saying, I have nothing to teach. And that's not true. You have some knowledge, you have some skills, or you have some experience that you can teach others. And this is when most people get it wrong, because they say, well, I'm not an expert enough. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to know more than your students, because if you have done something 30 times, you are an absolute expert for someone who has never done it, because you can help them complete their first time. And this beginner who has never done it is willing to learn and is willing to pay to you, to teach them how to complete this
Yeah.
first time. And as you said before, as you keep teaching people, you're learning as well, because the best way to learn is to teach others. And your mastery grows, and then you are able to help more and more people, now not just beginners, maybe intermediates, and so on. So you always have something to teach. And the best thing is that usually the most valuable things you can teach is your experience, not your knowledge. When people say I have nothing to teach, it's because they are thinking in the traditional education system. But that's not what people want to teach. If you want to learn, that kind of things you can learn on Google for free. But
Yeah.
life experiences is far more valuable than traditional knowledge and concepts. And so on. But life experiences is what really valuable, because you went through a situation and you were able to overcome the situation, and now you can tell to someone how to overcome the same situation they're
Absolutely.
in, or you are able to help them avoid the situation altogether. And that's highly valuable, and people are willing to pay for that because they want the shortcut. They don't want to, you can build a bridge to go from point A to point B without going through the valley, or you can help people in the valley to get out of there, because they may even be digging down deeper in that valley without even knowing.
Yeah.
Without even knowing. And you can tell them, this thing that you're doing that it seems to be helping is actually getting you deeper in the hole.
Yeah.
And that's the value in the information, and that's what you can teach.
That's a
Everybody
great
can.
analogy, the valley with the bridge above, right? And you can go from A to B on the bridge, which is so much easier, or you can wade through the valley and then get lost and start digging more, and you're not digging your way out of there, right? And then when you have help, it's what I say in my world is, when people come into my world, they start to collapse time. The time it takes to do things starts to collapse, because they're collapsing time. Before, maybe if they were trying to figure it out all by themselves, it would take a lot longer. Being in my world can help them collapse the time on it so that it's a lot faster, and they avoid some of the big uh-ohs in the business, right? So they don't have to figure out. I figured that out myself. I did the big uh-ohs so other people don't have to.
Yes, that's right. And that's kind of it. You share your trial and errors. You do the trials and errors, and you find out the right way to do it, so you can teach others and avoid this trial and error period, and go through the fast track to point B.
I love that. And so in the world right now, you are teaching people how to build online businesses. Is that what you do at the moment, and leverage your skills?
Yes. I'm teaching people how to turn their knowledge or skills or experience into a course, and how to market it correctly and sell it for a living. Helping people while creating a source of passive income for you.
Fantastic. Antonio, this conversation has been amazing. I really felt like this has been one of the really important conversations that we've had on the podcast, because it has so much in it, so much of like that early pressure that I felt in the early part of my career. I've been an entrepreneur for 22 years, coming up 23 years now. And so, I've been around the block when it comes to being an entrepreneur. I've owned multiple businesses in that time, and coached people since the age of 24 in business. And I feel like, so many people feel that pressure of what you, and so I just want to say thank you so much for bringing this to the podcast, because I think it's a really important topic. And the fake it till you make it has always been a funny thing. Like, I've had a little bit of love-hate with it, and I'm really grateful that you brought it up here and brought this to the podcast. Tell people where they can find you in online, and how they can hook up with you in your community. So where is your favorite place to be found on the internet, and what's your website?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity of sharing this. This is the first time actually I'm sharing this in English, and it's been wonderful for me to talk about it. I have my website, legendaryinfopreneur.com, and my Instagram, my YouTube, and I am creating a TikTok account. I've never been on TikTok, but I'm trying out this. It's all the same, Legendary Infopreneur. I'm starting out. This is, as I said, the first time I'm creating content in English, so I'm just starting out. I have almost no followers at all, but that's where they can find me. I'm going to start adding content the next week, because this week I'm using it to prepare the content, and that's where I'll be found. I can be found.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Antonio, for coming on the show. I really appreciated it. And I look forward to seeing you grow your new business.
Thank you very much, Joanna. Thank you. Have a nice day.